Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. We are continuing on the Embroidery of the Month, the Letter to Santa embroidery today. So this is the finished one. We just started yesterday. We have the little envelope started there. So that was all chain stitch, and tonight we are going to work on the evergreen fronds. So we're going to add some color tonight. So thanks for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I'm here every weeknight, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. I'm here for about an hour, and I work on projects from beginning to end. So we are working on the Embroidery of the Month. We have one of these every month. Typically, we work on them the third week of the month, but since next week we're gonna have the koala quilt auction. Next week I'm going to be sewing on that label to the quilt. So we are working on this project Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday we're going to have a special Saturday stitch along. I like doing these every once in a while, but this will be like a little mini marathon stitch along, and we are going to finish up the Letter to Santa embroidery. So that will be at 11 a.m. on Saturday Central Time. And we will stitch until we are done. So I suspect it'll probably be around 3 hours or so. So you are welcome to just chill and get some coffee and hang out with me Saturday morning. So thanks again, guys. Let's get going. All right. Hello, everyone. Nice seeing everyone pop in. Oh, yep. John is in YouTube land today. All right, so here is where we got yesterday. I got my cute little needle minder by Marie. Oh, she's over on YouTube right now too. All right, so we stitched, it doesn't look like much because it looks like our outline color still, but we stitched this gray for the envelope. But tonight we are going to do the evergreen fronds, I suppose, or boughs, or I don't know, what would we call these? I'm calling them fronds, but I think that's not quite right. But the evergreen branches, clippings, that's not right either. Let me know what I should be calling these. But I'm going to start on this side here, I think. This is going to feel like we get a lot done fast, because I think this is just going to feel like a mass of stuff. And last night we did the chain stitch. This is basically a single chain stitch. So here we did like a whole row of them. But remember how we had that one little anchor stitch at the end? Now we're basically going to do that every single time. So it's very, very similar. You know, if you got this to work last night, you'll get this to work fine. Sometimes this is called a lazy daisy stitch. Technically, I think a lazy daisy stitch is when you do all these chain stitches around in a circle to make kind of a flower. But basically the same thing. We're doing a single chain stitch. They do kind of start in the same spot. It's just not going all the way around. So I've been calling them, I kind of use them interchangeably sometimes, but technically single chain stitch, a whole pile of single chain stitches. And this is going to use up a ton of floss. That's why I have a lot of it in the bundle. I actually have two skeins of it. So we'll open up one of those. I do have my iPad open here with the pattern, just so I can have the stitch guide, so I know what colors go where and what stitches to use. So I always kind of like having this nearby. So, all right, let's get down here. I'm going to zoom you guys all in, and we will get stitching for the evening. All right, so again, we did all this chain stitch. Let's start on here. So I'm going to start with my three strands of floss again. I just had a flash in my head of like, oh, where'd my needle go? But it's right where it should be on the needle minder, so that's good. All right. So we'll start with my normal amount, which is about 24 inches, but I'm going to adjust that as we go, I think, and you'll realize why real quick. these are pretty large stitches. I like bows, or like bows. How do I pronounce that? Is it bows? Evergreen bows? Oh man, I don't know. It's getting late, you guys. Words don't work anymore. But anyway, so I'm getting my 3 strands here. These are fairly large stitches, and chain stitches use up a lot of thread. And the reason it uses up a lot of thread is because you're making a big loop, and then to anchor that loop down, you actually have to come up from the back that distance again and make that little anchor stitch. So we're probably using, gosh, with each stitch, we're probably using like, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches worth of thread. And then you have to jump back to the beginning to get to the next stitch. So yeah, we are using like a good 2 inches at least of thread with every stitch. So this is not going to last long. So I might cheat, not really cheat, but just go against my norm and get a longer piece of thread just for the sake of these giant stitches here. All right, I think, let's use the conditioner again today, because why not? It smells amazing. All right. Okay. Just gonna slide that through. So this is that Wisecraft handmade thread conditioner again. It's gonna kind of hold my threads a little bit together. And honestly, it smells good. This actually, this rainfall scent smells like Christmas. So it goes with this really well. I would love this as a candle, actually. All right, let's find my needle. Oh my God, again, I was looking around my sides for the needle, but it is right where it should be, right here. Okay, so I don't really have anything to weave in. So remember, I like to weave in my stitches to start out. I don't really have anything to weave in down here, so I'm going to start with an away knot again. I don't really want to do that, but we're gonna. So like last night, I only do this away knot now if I don't have any stitches nearby to weave in, and in this case I kind of don't. So we're just gonna plop it in the front of the fabric a little bit of ways where I'm gonna go. Oh, branches might be easier to say. You're right, Sylvia. Gosh, there should be, I guess, bows or bows. Ugh, I don't know. That sounds Christmas-ier. Okay, so I'm coming up. This is very similar again to the chain stitches we made here. So I'm coming up at the bottom of that, like that point of that teardrop shape. And I'm going to go right back in the same hole. I'm going to come up at like the apex of it there. And I want to come up in like the loop that we're making here. So I didn't make it at the start, so I'm going to just make it now. We're making like a giant loop around our needle basically. And I'm going to pull up, and just the fact that my thread is in the middle of that loop is going to stop the loop. So there we go. Again, I'm not pulling too tight. I'm leaving it lazy because that gives it that kind of rounded teardrop look. If you pull too tight, it'll just look like one really thick line. Okay, and then I need to make that tiny anchor stitch on the other side of the loop to hold it down. And that is it. We're just going to make a pile of those. So basically the same thing as what we've been doing here, but instead of starting the next stitch, we're just anchoring it right away. So it's just like a row of 1. So I'm going to come all the way back down here. I swear we used at least 2 inches of floss with just that one. Now I'm going to make kind of that little loop, hold it there, go down and back up through that loop. Oh, yeah, my mom's saying deck the halls with boughs. Okay, so boughs of holly. So a bow, but that sounds weird though. Oh, Gretchen says I pronounce bows like rhyming with ow. Okay, that's good. Oh, bows or bows. Oh, that's what you mean by the second one. Bows. Okay, that's weird. I mean, like, that is right. That does sound right in my brain now, but like, would you call this an evergreen bough? Like if you were going around to talk to someone about all these branches you cut down, would you say, look at all these evergreen boughs I cut down? Like that, I don't know. That seems awkward in my mouth. How about that? I don't know. All right. All right, so I'm going to try the sewing method of doing this again. So remember we did that sewing method while we were doing this. That's when we go in and out in the same motion. I'm going to just hold this a little bit out of the way. I'm going to try going in and out of that. Oops, see, not far enough. Out, we're close enough, right at the top there. So I'm going to leave the needle in there for now, and then make sure that my thread goes back around it, which is basically us making the needle go in that big loop again. But this kind of gets it out of the way by going behind like that. And then we can pull the rest of the way through. A little bit faster. There we go, our little loop. Make our anchor stitch. All right, and then back at the beginning again. I'm going to just do what's comfortable. This way, just from how I'm holding this, the stabbing method seems to work well in this direction, and the sewing method, just because how my hand is moving, seems to feel better in the other direction. So let's just do that. But look at, I'm almost out of thread already. I can probably get 2 more stitches out of here. Oh, Sylvia says maybe it changes when it changes to decoration. Okay, I like that idea. It's not boughs until it's, you know, hanging, you know, from your chimney with care or whatever. Or decking the halls. How about that? Then it's a bough of evergreen in this case. Oh, see, okay, there. So Maria's saying, yes, it's when the bough breaks, the baby will fall. Yeah, that's not creepy. But yep, you're right. Bough. It just sounds weird when you isolate that as its own word, doesn't it? I don't know. Sounds funny. All right, oh my gosh. Do I think I can get 1 more stitch? I'm going to try to get 1 more stitch, but I'm stretching it on getting 1 more stitch out of this, and we only have 6 stitches. We've only done 6 stitches, and we're already out of like that 24 inches of thread there. Gosh, can that be right? That means we're using like 4 inches each time, doesn't it? Wow, do you think? Well, I have 4 inches at the beginning and the end. Too. Oh, I might be able to get 1 more out of this. Let's give it a try. Maybe I can get 7. Let's give it a try. I think the sewing method will work better for this because I can get in and out in 1 motion. I don't have to try and go out without hardly any thread. Okay, there we go. Let's lock her down. And there we go. We got a whole of 7 stitches. Actually, it looks like we covered a lot of ground, though. Okay, let's weave that in. See, look at how much thread we're using on the back, too. So we're going to just really get filled in. So now this isn't as easy to weave in the ends as like a back stitch or like these, because they're just kind of these big stitches. So I'm just going to kind of try and grab itself on the way back. I'm just going to try and grab as much thread as I can. I'm also trying not to pull the backs of the stitches very much because I don't want them to pull the fronts of the stitches while I'm doing it. Let's snip that. And I'll snip this from the back this time. All right. And oh, should have gone like this. Boop. I got to make that a habit now. All right. Thread the needle and let's weave in this end. So I do have that 1 more a set of 3 strands, so I'll use that up, so we'll make 7 more stitches. And then I think I'm gonna cheat and use a little bit longer thread. It might be a little unruly, but then we don't have to change the thread every 7 stitches. Boop. Yeah, you're right, Grace. I did lose more thread because of the away knot, but yeah, so maybe we'll get 8 stitches next time. All right, so it's looking pretty cute, though. It's fun to have a little bit of color in here all of a sudden, and they're going to be nice and thick, too. I like, this one is the one that Jenna stitched, but, ooh, they're just looking cute. All right, oops, jeez. I have this other strand of 3 here. So let's just run it through the Christmassy yums. Again, this is called Rainfall, which is a good name for it, but like it fits, but it still kind of smells. It's like a rainfall in an evergreen forest. How about that? It's like a warm rain. In a woods of Christmas trees. Yum. I had to smell it before closing it up again. Now where's my needle? Oh, on the back. There we go. Oh, man. Well, that's where I need to be anyway. I need to weave in this end to get it started. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's get our next 7 stitches done, or maybe 8. We'll shoot for 8, and then yeah, I think I'll get a little longer piece of floss next time. I'm with you, Gina. Gina says, isn't it funny how long it takes to make a new habit? Hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Oh, speaking of dogs, this doesn't quite relate, but John woke me up this morning, and he's like, come downstairs, quick. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And there were 2 foxes in our backyard. Which I basically call like cat dogs, kitty dogs, because they're like half cat, half dog. But there were 2 foxes in our backyard. Thanks, John. There's 2 foxes in our backyard just running around, and we got a bunch of snow again, and they were just kind of jumping in the snow. It was so cool. We've never seen foxes in our yard. Actually, now that I think of it, we have seen 1 fox around here, and it freaked us out because we were going for a walk like at night, so it was dark, and then all of a sudden we saw this fox like down the street, and we're like, yikes, let's hope it doesn't have rabies and run after us, basically. But yeah, oh, so they were red foxes, for sure red foxes. Really pretty, beautiful red foxes. I don't think I've ever seen a fox that close before in real life. So that was just so cool. So maybe they'll come back. That'd be neat. I suspect the one that we saw that one night, like during the summer, might be one of these. Like maybe they're just chilling in this neighborhood, which is just so funny because we live in a city, kind of, right? I mean, it is neighborhoody, but it's like a neighborhood that's just out of the city. Like it's a first-tier suburb, really. And we're right by a highway and everything. There's houses everywhere. So it's just so funny to see that wildlife. But we also, I mean, we get turkeys all the time just wandering around. You gotta wait for them in the car, until they've decided they've gone through all the way. I just never seen foxes like that here. So that was just so neat. That was the sweet thing of the day. Oh my gosh, so Deborah says, my grown son got bitten by a fox and had to take rabies shots. Eek! Yeah, eek. See, that's why we're like, okay, let's, when we're going for that walk, we were like, let's get out of here. I have this, like, maybe irrational, but maybe it's a good fear of, of, like, rabies. Um, I feel like I heard an NPR story or something, or maybe it was, I think it was probably before Radiolab or any of those, but I feel like I heard some sort of radio story when I was little about a woman seeing a raccoon, and it apparently had rabies, but because it had rabies, it like ran after her. Totally ran after her. So I have like, that's stuck in my head for some reason. So like every once in a while we see a raccoon here or something, and I just am like, we gotta not have it chase us, because and I don't know if you guys remember the movie like 28 Days Later. It's a zombie, basically, a zombie movie, but the zombies, they called them infected, I think, there, but they move really harshly. Like they're fast, but they have really, like, almost like frozen joint movements. It's kind of, like, I think it's creepy and scary, but apparently they modeled that after, what it's like for someone who gets rabies and, doesn't get a rabies shot or anything. And, I don't know, sticks out as scary. Animals with rabies, so. We don't have bats, though, so that's good. There was a girl in the town that I grew up in who got bitten by a bat, and I think it's something crazy. Like, she got rabies and she didn't get a rabies shot, so she was like the only person, and she recovered, but she was like one of the only people that's recovered from having rabies without getting a shot. I don't know, some sort of crazy something like that. And yeah, I don't know, I think about rabies every once in a while. It's just so stupid. Anyway, that's scary that he had rabies, but I'm glad he got a shot. Ooh, interesting. Grace says rabies shots are very painful. So did you have to get a rabies shot? Oh, I suppose like if a dog bites you or something, you want to get a rabies shot too, but yuck-ish, icky. No thank you. Oh, Colleen, the weather is, well, it's winter again, for sure. We lost our 75 degrees 2 days ago, or 3 days ago or so, and it snowed a whole pile again today. It got cooler. It was kind of a gorgeous snow though today. Just really beautiful. So it's really pretty outside right now. Okay, so new piece of thread. So we got 24 inches last time. I'm gonna double that. So this is gonna be awkward to stitch, really, because I'm gonna have to bring my shoulder way back. I like stitching with that 24 inches. It's just enough to stitch with, I think, and not have like using a lot of shoulder and elbow and all that. It's better if you're doing a lot of stitching. But I would prefer not to switch threads all that much, so I'm gonna stitch like when I was little, when I started embroidery, and I suspect that if you are starting with embroidery, this might have been how you started too, because logically it makes sense. I remember I would take like the longest piece of thread I could ever like hold, and then separated the three strands, which was difficult with a long piece of thread because I wasn't doing it this way. This way it's easy. I was doing it where I take the three threads and kind of separate it that way. But just doing the one strand at a time, pulling it out, works really well. But anyway, so I'd stitch with the longest piece of thread I could. First of all, it makes it slower, a little slower to stitch. because there's a lot more movement, but you're actually putting a lot more friction on your thread because you're pulling it through the fabric more, and each time you pull it through the fabric, you're being like basically abrasive to the thread, so the thread can like wear or get fuzzier as you go along. So it's actually, and then there's all the repetitive stress, right, of like pulling from going all the way back, like pulling your shoulder way back for the stitches. So I like, nowadays I like that 24 inches or so. But in my head, I always kind of want to veer back to my really long thread. So this will feel a little nostalgic for me right now. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to like stitching like this. But I'll get a whole pile more stitches without having to weave in the ends. So that's what I'm going for. This won't be so bad. I know I used a lot longer threads than this before. But it kind of makes sense, right? Because you're like, oh, I have to stitch all this big space. I'm going to get a long piece of thread, and then I won't have to do, I won't have to start and stop so many times. So it's logical, just practically it doesn't work as well, I think, personally. Okay. Where did we leave off? So just so you guys know, I do want to stitch, there is a line coming down here, and that I will stitch with a back stitch. So I'm getting all these stitches in first, because then my back stitch will kind of lay on top of everything. It'll lay on top of all these stitches, so we'll have like a nice pretty line, like a defined line going down this. Now really, you could probably stitch all these and like skip that outline. It's still gonna feel like they're all connected because there's so many, I think, but I think it's just like a fun little extra bit. And if you didn't want like the stem to stand out so much, you could stitch that first, and then it would just be filling in these gaps, and then you could just stab these single chain stitches right into it. That'd be a different look to it. Oh, Christy, you gave yourself a COVID haircut today. So I have not had a haircut yet. We keep saying that we're going to do a COVID haircut for me, but we just never get to it on the weekend. But I did give John one. I think I gave him his third one, actually. His third COVID cut gosh, that might have been last week Thursday already. So last week we had to get it in. I actually had to schedule it. Like, we were supposed to do that COVID haircut, and the sun was going down, and he wanted it just buzzed this time. We tried to do that haircut that all the guys were doing for their first COVID haircut, where it was like kind of the longer on top and then the buzzed sides. And I think I did a pretty good job at that haircut, but this time he just wanted it. I think we kind of let it go for a little bit longer than what he's used to, and I think he just wanted it gone. It's like, just get rid of it. So I guess it's not totally buzzed. It's just short. It wasn't the lowest setting on the razor, but it was still pretty short. But all the way around. I didn't leave the top long this time. I think he's happy with it. Ooh, that's kind of a lot gathering right there. That's a knot in the making here. Let me just... There we go. It's just... it pulled itself into that stitch hole. See, so it is a bit more awkward. Threads kind of going everywhere. Christy says, I asked my husband to do mine COVID haircut in, and he said no. So we have not done it. We have not done it either. There's a YouTuber that at the beginning of COVID I started watching. I haven't watched any of his things in a while, but it was just so relaxing and kind of funny and silly. But He might have popped up on your YouTube too. I think it's advertised on YouTube, or I mean on Facebook or whatever. But I think his name is like Mondo or something. Let me know if you've heard of him. But he just watches hairdress or like people do their hair at home, like watching people try to bleach their hair and dye it a certain color, and then just watches what they do and comments on it, and then just says, how a professional would do it, basically. It's so stupid, but it's so relaxing to watch. Like, it's just so silly, and I just like watching it. But he had a whole show, like a whole how-to on how to cut your own hair during COVID. And he like separated, by yourself. So to cut it by yourself. And it was, longer hair. So you're giving like your longer hair kind of a trim, basically. And he had cut it in like, he had like little rubber bands in 4 quadrants. So you had like 2 front ponytails and 2 back ponytails, and then you cut those to the same length, and I don't know. He had a way to put layers in and stuff too. So I keep meaning to show John that video. But then in my head, I'm like, I also don't have tiny rubber bands to hold my hair back like that. But anyway, we have not done my COVID hair cut yet. Oh, Rebecca says, Brad Mondo. Yes, I've watched him before. It's popped up in my Facebook like a while back, and it's just so dumb, but it's one of those things that you just have to keep watching. That it's been my, like, for a while, that was just my relaxing thing to have on in the background, and I'd laugh every once in a while, just like lighthearted nothings, that's kind of my go-to of everything these days. Anyway, I think he's funny. Just critiquing all these teenagers and whoever trying to bleach their hair during quarantine and stuff. Anyway, I've been meaning to follow his how to cut your hair during COVID thing, but literally what's holding me up is like not having these small rubber bands, and then my brain just doesn't move any further than that. But yes, I need to get John to give that a go, because it's getting long and needs a haircut. I don't think I'm ready to go to a hair place and sit there for a long period of time. Oh, Amy says, I cut my own bangs, then fixed them for the next 3 days. Yep. I don't know, I'd be a little scared for John to give me bangs. Hey. I'm actually a little scared that he's going to just cut a little bit more than what he thinks he's cutting. Instead of like working up to cutting that short. But I don't know. If I come back next week with new hair, you'll know that John gave me a haircut. Oh, if I need something relaxing, I need to look up Peter. Okay, I have no idea what that is at all. I will look it up, Rebecca. But yeah, like right now, I'm like, I'm just like, all I want is easy entertainment for, and I like having stuff on in the background while I work versus music or any sort of like talking thing. Like, I don't really listen to podcasts because usually I have to type something or write something or think through something, so I can't be listening to a podcast or anything like that. And music, I don't know, the timing of music kind of throws me. Like, I do kind of like those just chill radio things that just go on forever, but not all the time. But yeah, with shows like Easy TV, where I know all the characters or whatever, and where nothing happens, and it's just sweet and boring and whatever, that's my go-to. None of this drama, even though I know drama writing and TV is so good now, but it's just not my not my go-to at this point. Just give me the easy. Uh, I just started watching, because Netflix told me to, Emily in Paris, and that's exactly fits the bill. I think it's just so stupid, but like it's easy. Easy, easy. But yeah, I like having that sort of stuff in the background. Although lately I've been just watching, I don't know, some YouTube about like minimal whatever. So basically where you just like Marie Kondo, where you're just kind of getting rid of all your stuff. That's been relaxing lately too, and I've been trying to go through some closets and get rid of things and get rid of like old coats that I don't wear, all that stuff. So that's been feeling good too. All right, this is my last stitch with this one. Definitely won't manage another one. But look, we got this far with that piece of thread. So I think the longer piece of thread was a win for these. I won't do that typically, but ugh, there's a lot of changing involved with these fronds. Frond. Oh no, that's not the word I was thinking of. That's close. That I like frond a little bit more than bow. Before the bow breaks, yeah. Bow. See, it felt weird when I said it again. Anyway. Oh, there's a girl that cuts her hair with an embroidery scissors. Sometimes they're called, so embroidery scissors like are when you're like really kind of ordering them. Um, they're the same as cuticle scissors oftentimes, so she probably has like a cuticle scissors. Uh-oh. I only was able to weave that in twice. I'm going to just let it be. I'm not going to weave it in another time. Typically I like weaving it in the 3 times though, because it does lock it in place, but we will just do the 2 and then I'll weave in that area again and hopefully that holds it in. So here's my other set of 3. Oh, let's plop this here. Oh, get on there. There we go. Okay, she's shop style conquer. Okay, I'll have to look that up too. Oh, funny. Rebecca says that Peter, he has a calming voice and plays Minecraft. You put it on loop and then go to sleep. Oh my god, so that's so interesting. I have to look that up. All those things are so silly to me. I love that people are like making a living by doing that sort of stuff. Isn't that just something else? That just is so fascinating, I think. just interesting. Like, what people do to live these days in internet land is pretty amazing. But yeah, just for that, I would put that on. That's interesting. Okay, up. Down. Okay, that's 2. Smells like Christmas again with the thread conditioner. Ugh, that's so good. Okay, there we go. Oh, I think we'll definitely finish this with this long thread that I got here, all of extra. So this one little guy on top is actually gray. So I'm gonna lock down the stitch when I get up there. I'm gonna anchor stitch that, and then I'll come back with a little piece of gray, and I'll do that last stitch and anchor it. You could do the gray right after you do that loop, but it'll just be easier to anchor down my green loop before starting the next one. And the gray stitches will cover up my little anchor stitch, so you won't know that it's there, I don't think. Ugh. All right. Too much stuff here. Hold on. I'm just, as I pull, it's pulling a different section of the floss through. Because I'm just being a little careless, I think, really. There we go. All these bitty stitches. Okay, so I just was thinking I won't have extra thread because I still have to come down and do that back stitch. Ooh, it'd be awesome if I had enough thread for all that. Come back. I did watch today when I was working. I had worked from home today, if you can tell. That's how I'm watching all this TV today. But man, sometimes that's the only thing that keeps me in the chair. Okay, some of my threads just got a little loose. I'm going to just run my finger through it. But I watched, I had Moneyball on in the background today, and that's just such a good movie still. I would just put that on again. That was nice to watch again. I haven't seen that in years. That was being advertised to me on Netflix too. That's in that feel-good world still. I have one of these loops. This last loop I did, the threads kind of separated a little, and I didn't really take the time to really put them back together very well. And so it's a little kind of bloopy. I'm just kind of hoping that my other stitches will cover it up. Maybe when I do the back stitch, I can kind of get it in as part of the back stitches. Oh, interesting. Rebecca says that the Peter, he also has a channel called Peter Draws, where he draws artwork and reviews fountain pens. Oh, that's kind of fun. Dang. I got myself a fountain pen a couple years ago just because I was getting rid of all these markers and pens that weren't working, and I'm like, ugh, I'm going to get one nice pen, and that's going to be like my favorite pen. And I wanted it to be something like if I wanted to try doing some calligraphy stuff, I could do that. I got a reasonably priced one, but they are not cheap. So like, that would be a tough thing for me to like do reviews on, because man, fountain pens are crazy expensive. There are some, cheaper ones, and I think they're pretty popular now as well, so their manufacturers are making like cheaper ones, but dang, those things are expensive. I did a bunch of research to find like one that had a nib that like made the nice thick and thins how I kind of the text that I was kind of thinking, but wow, yeah. You can go down a rabbit hole real quick when you start researching fountain pens of like, people buying $500 fountain pens, It's just fascinating. Whole nother world. All right, we're getting there, and we got 4 more, and I'm going to attempt to stitch down the middle here. I don't know if we'll quite make it there. That'd be a bummer, though, to only have like 2 stitches left or something. We're going to do the back stitch on the way down. I think that's what we're doing. Let's look at the instructions here. Yep, back stitch thin lines. So we will do a back stitch. 3 more. These are all kind of going to be in that same hole. Ugh, this is just looking pretty and fuzzy. It's just looking really kind of fun. And because these are just nice long stitches, it looks extra shiny too, because you can just see like all the threads next to each other. It's almost, it's almost kind of like a satin stitch. It's really, because we have so many stitches here, it's like a different way of filling up a space, really. Okay, but now I'm feeling like I'm running out of thread again, so I don't know. Maybe we won't have enough to go all the way down the edge, the center here. Does kind of feel like there's a lot on the back. Okay, there was a little bloop here. Thought maybe there's a big area that I missed, but, or like a big loop that I made on the back. But we're okay. Ooh, trying to get into this last one here. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to come back to that last little bloop. What would that be? Like the bud, the like little tip of the evergreen. All right, I'm going to lock this down with that anchor stitch. So there we go. I'll come back and do that stitch, and I'm going to try and go down the middle here now. But we got that. All right, so I'm going to try and come up right where I left off. All right, there we go. I think that's pretty good. And, ooh, let's try. I'm going to make these stitches maybe a little bit bigger. But this is going to help fill in the gaps a little bit. And I like that it kind of cleans up these edges. So where all these come and meet, sometimes it can be a little bit messy. But sometimes that's the look that you want, a little more organic. But I'm going to cover up all those parts where they meet with my little back stitches here. So there's a lot of thread here. It's a little challenging to come up in the right spot. But I'm kind of coming up in the middle of two stitches, so I don't want to come up in the exact same spot because I'm trying to cover up where those points meet in the middle. Ugh, thread. We are cutting it close here. I might try and do where I do a back stitch, then a forward stitch. It's a little, I don't know, it basically looks the same. It preserves the thread a little bit, so when I get super challenged with thread with a back stitch, sometimes I go this route. So I did a back stitch and I came back into the same hole instead of a little forward, and I'm making a forward stitch. I don't think it looks as clean sometimes, but we're desperate. I want to use this thread. So here's the back stitch again. And it'll come up in that same hole, which kind of splits the thread a little bit too, but oh well. And we'll do the forward stitch. Oh, we need red nails for Saturday? Oh, so we can have like the red and green together? That would work. I do have some red nail polish yet. Remember, I'm like going through all my nail polish from beginning to end just to start fresh and like get rid of it all, and instead of throwing it away, but like just one at a time I'm going through it. But I do have some red. Oh, I could do green and red. Oh no, I don't have green, but I do have red. I don't think I have green. I used to have some green. All right, we have just enough. So that saved us. That going forward and back for a little saved us just enough thread to make it all the way down. So my stitches are a little bit bigger than I probably normally would make them, but I think they look nice still. And I didn't have to get more thread, so that's good. right, back at the bottom here, let's weave in those ends. Yeah, my the purple that I'm wearing and trying to get through. I'm almost through where I can't use this anymore. So I might have like maybe 2 more decent weeks of this purple before that color will get thrown away. So that's 2 colors that I've gone through of the nail polish so far. So we're working our way through. It's just so silly, but that's my side game here, using up that nail polish. But yeah, the purple worked well for the Halloween. All right, so we got that guy pretty much done. Why don't we try and finish it off with that little gray? And do I have enough gray from last night? No, that is not enough gray. Okay, so we'll be starting a new piece of gray just for that. But we have a lot more gray to do. There's this whole thing down here, and then we have the other 2 whatever we're calling those, little buds on the end. So it's fine that I get more gray. I'm going to just do that 24 inches again, though. Oh, thanks, Marie. All right, come here. Oh, this feels so short now. Maybe this is a little shorter than I was thinking. 2. Oh, this one matches my whole outfit today, which is all gray, which is the color of outside today too. Man, maybe I was mind reading that a little bit. All right, let's stick those together. We'll run it through the Christmassy smells again. Get those strands kind of locked together a little bit. Needle. I was looking for it again. Oh man, that's gonna take me a little time to get used to that. I like using it though. Okay, so I'm going to weave in the end to here, and then we'll just do that one little blip, and then that'll be that. We actually could travel down to here and maybe get some of these stitches in yet while we have the thread. Why don't we do that? Yeah, let's give that a go. All right, thinking that through a little bit too much. Okay, 1... 2, 3. All right, we got that one little single chain stitch up here. I'm going to come on the inside of that last green loop, so kind of where our anchor stitch started. And I'm going to go right back in the same place. And this should cover up our anchor stitch. So it should kind of look like we just went from one chain stitch to the next, like what we were doing here, but with different colors. Because this should cover up that anchor stitch. Yeah, so there we go. It looks like we just came out of this loop and started the next one, even though we had a little bit of time in between. And let's anchor that down. And that's that. That's looking pretty cute. That at the top there. All right, so I thought maybe we'd try and sneak down here and get a couple more stitches yet. So instead of just jumping down there, like jumping down there and having like this big loop, I'm just going to kind of sneak in the back of some of these stitches. Kind of holds it in place a little bit. Oops. I can see that line through the back here, so I'll get kind of down to there. There, so I just call that like traveling. So we don't have that big loop anymore. We've hidden that distance. You could start fresh down here too, but I figure weaving in the ends and then weaving it in again down here is probably the same distance really. So just weaving into those backs, and let's get a few more of these. I think I'm going to do the reverse chain stitch here. So I'm going to make my little tiny anchor stitch. Then we'll come back up. Let's get the needle in there and then pull it. All right, so that's my anchor stitch. We're kind of doing the reverse of our single chains. We did this last night. So there's our first chain stitch. And we're going to do it the reverse way, where we swoop underneath. Let's come up from this side so I don't hit these stitches. You can come up from either side. Alright, stitch number 1. Got that one a little twisted. I don't think I went in the exact same hole. We'll do 3 more, so I'm going to kind of split this space into thirds. Swoop underneath. Okay, so again, I don't especially like jumping across shapes, but there's going to be a lot of stitches here. So I think this jump will be pretty hidden. I don't think this jump will be hidden though, so I don't think I'm going to jump from here to there. I'll just get these stitches later, which is kind of annoying. If I would have done this bow first, I would have just traveled along that bow and then got these extra stitches in. So that was maybe a little bit not great planning. Oh, I suppose I got to do another anchor stitch here too, don't I? So we'll just do these 2 stitches here and then be done with this gray for now. And we'll weave in the end and I think call it an evening. I didn't really leave myself anything to weave in on the back either. But we got to use a little bit more of this gray up, so that's nice. There we are. Okay. We definitely need to get some other colors in here soon though. I suppose tomorrow, why don't we start the red? We could work on, there's all this satin stitch, so each night we can kind of do a different stitch. So I'm thinking, why don't we get all these satin stitches in? That'll take some time, but that'll be fun. I think this just makes it look really cute with this little like airmail border. So we'll do the satin stitch tomorrow evening. That's a great stitch for filling in small spaces like this. Kind of keeping on with our satiny look. Like these are looking really satiny, so this is going to look satiny too, and it has a little red outline. I think that might be our next deal. And then we'll work on more of these evergreen boughs later, once we get back over that way. But I think, yeah, let's get more color on the page here. So this is all satin stitch down here too in that candy cane. But I want to do the letter first. I almost set that down. I caught myself this time though before I did it. All right. And I'm going to put it on the front though. There we are for the evening. All right, yeah, this just kind of blends in, but it does still feel like, you know, a chunk done when we get that envelope. Ooh, this is looking so pretty and soft though. I love it. All right, you guys. Okay, so thank you again for joining me for that. I'm happy we got through one of those. They do take a little bit of time, all those single chain stitches, but it just looks so fluffy and pretty. I'm really liking how that's turning out. So we will continue on that tomorrow. Like I said, we'll get some of that red going, that red satin stitch. So I think at that point, well, we haven't done a French knot yet, but other than the French knot, we've kind of gone through all the stitches after tomorrow, and we'll just kind of, Saturday, we'll just try and push through and get this guy done. And we'll definitely go over French knots on Saturday. And the 3 things you might be doing wrong. So if you're having trouble with French knots, be sure to pop in on Saturday. We'll go over that. Maybe we'll go over that earlier than later. So if that's the thing that you're stuck on for finishing this, then you can learn that first and get her done. And awesome, this will be fun. And then again, remember next week is the koala auction, and during the koala auction, which will run for a week, we will be stitching on our koala label to the quilt. So we get to get the koala quilt out again. I love it so much. John's doing a little video of the making of the koala quilt, so we'll get to take a look at that too, and it'll just be a nice finish to this project that all of us have been kind of working on together since January, end of January, pre-COVID, but still post-disasters of 2020 already. Oh, it's been a year. So, all right, you guys, thanks again for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central. Good night.